Okay, so this last lesson we're going to look at is lesson 10.8. It involves equations of circles, and we're just going to use this page here for our notes on this, and I'm going to take you through a few examples. The first thing is when we're identifying the equation of a circle, the equation is this equation right here, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Now you may want to write that equation right there on your spinner, somewhere on one of the white boxes, or some if you've got room on one of the pink spots, which I think that's pretty well full. But now what this equation represents, the x and the y represents any coordinate that would be on the circle. The r value represents the radius, and h and k represent the center. And it gives you a good picture of the graph over here at the side. Again, HK is the center. We're talking about the coordinates of the center. R is the radius, so the distance from the center to the circle. And if I were to just randomly select any point on this circle, that's what X and Y represent in this equation. Now, what we're going to use here, we're going to go down here to some of these problems at the bottom. Again, this is just a basic introduction to equations of circles. We're not getting real complex with this. You get into pre-calculus, we'd spend maybe a whole week or two doing conics with the equations of circles and being a little more complex. So we're just kind of exposing you here to what it looks like. So just so that we can see the formula, I'm going to rewrite it down here. X minus h squared, y minus k squared equals r squared. Now, two things that we have to know to be able to write the equation of a circle. We need to know the center and we need to know the radius. So in these first few problems that we're going to do, that's what we're going to give to you just so you can get the feel for how we write these equations. So the first one, it says the center is at 0, 0, and the radius is 8. So when you're thinking about labeling the different letters, 0, 0 is H, comma, K, and the 8 would be my R value in the equation. So really all we're going to do is substitute in what they're giving us. So we've got X minus 0 squared plus Y minus 0 squared equals 8 squared. Now, if we go ahead and simplify that, what is X minus 0? That's just X. So we're going to say that's X squared plus Y minus 0 is just Y, so that's Y squared. And then 8 squared would be 64. So for number 1, that would be my equation of the circle. X squared plus Y squared equals 64. Now, what you should take from this first example is anytime the center of the circle is 0, 0, it is going to be just simply X squared plus Y squared. And then whatever your radius squared would be, it's not always going to be the same. All right, let's look at number 2 together. Number 2 says centered at negative 2, 3, and the radius is 5. Again, that's HK and R that they're giving us. If I fill in what I know, X minus, now this is minus a negative 2. Anytime it's a negative minus a negative, that just turns this sign into a plus. So it's going to be X plus 2 squared plus Y minus 3 squared equals 5 squared. We know 5 squared is 25. Okay, you go ahead right now on your own and see if you can do numbers 3 and 4. Okay, let's go ahead and check to see how we did with this. So number 3, we've got a center of 2, -4. So this one would be x minus 2 squared plus y plus 4 squared equals 1. Let's take a look at number 4. Number 4 is going to be x plus 1 squared plus y plus 4 squared equals 2 squared, which is just simply 4. Now, there are a couple other problems here that I want to take a look at with you. Number 5 is written a little bit differently than the first 4 we've done. On number 5, they're giving you the center and they're giving you the diameter, which really should be a pretty easy fix when we're going through that process. We know that the diameter is twice the radius, so if we were doing number 5, what would we use for the radius? We would use 4 for the radius. So if I were doing number 5, it would be x plus 2 squared plus y plus 6 squared equals the radius squared, which is 4 squared, so 4 squared would be 16. Okay, we're not going to ask you to do ones like number 7 and 8, so you don't need to worry about those. Again, you get into those when we start talking about in Algebra 2 or pre-calc. I do want to look at the 2 graphs, though, at the bottom, number 9 and 10. Some of them, they're going to give you the graph, and they're going to ask you to write the equation given the graph. Again, remember, the 2 things that we need to know to be able to write the equation are the center and the radius. So if I'm looking at number 9, and I said to you, what is the center of the circle in number 9, what would you say? -2, -1. And if I said to you, what is the radius of the circle? Hopefully everybody would say the radius is 2. So now we have the 2 pieces of information. We need to write the equation. We could say this is x plus 2 squared plus y plus 1 squared equals 2 squared, which is 4. Go ahead and look at it. So we look at number 10. Hopefully you said the center of the circle was 1, 3. And if you count for the radius, 1, 2, 3, the radius is also 3. So our equation of the circle would be x minus 1 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 3 squared, or 9. Okay, so the last thing we're going to go through here at the bottom of page 50, you'll notice it says write the equation of a circle that contains each set of points, then graph the circle. So I've already plotted here the 3 points. So -2, 2, that's point F, that's right here. -1, 1, that's point G. And -1, 3, that's the point H. Now, given those 3 points, hopefully you are able to look at that picture and logically pick out what the center point would be. Can somebody tell me what the center of the circle is going to be based on plotting those 3 points? Can you give me the coordinates of what the center would be? -2, 2, so this point here. Not quite. Isaac, what do you think? Yeah, negative 1, 2. Do we see how that point is directly in the middle of all three of those? So my center for that is going to be negative 1, 2. And then looking at it, what would then be my radius? Well, if that's the center, it's just 1 to each of the points. So the radius is going to be 1. And then you can go through your process of writing the equation. So we would then say x plus 1 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 1 squared, which would just simply be 1. And then we'd go ahead then plot our fourth point and just kind of sketch in our circle. Now, the last concept that I want to go through with you is determining whether or not a point is on the circle. All right, as I look at the picture in this number 5, if I said to you, is the point negative 3, 4 on the circle, what would you say? Hopefully you would say, no, it's not on the circle, because if I'm looking at my graph, I go over 1, 2, 3, I go up 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, that point is way up here on my graph. So it doesn't lie on the circle. But if I'm not given the graph, it's not quite as simple. You know, I can't just say, well, look at the picture. There's no picture of my circle. But if I have my equation, understand that this x-coordinate and this y-coordinate represents any point that's on the circle. So if I plug this coordinate in, if I said, okay, negative 3 plus 1 squared plus 4 minus 2 squared, does that equal 1? Well, negative 3 plus 1 would be negative 2 squared, which is 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 squared is also 4. Does 4 plus 4 equal 1? No. So what that's telling me is if I plug the point in and it does not work, that means it does not lie on the circle. If I plug this point in for x and y and it does work, that tells me that yes, it is on the circle. So that's kind of the last thing I wanted to show you. As we're looking at your practice for tonight, you are going to complete page 50, which we already did number 5 for you. And then on the last page, you're going to do all of the last page, but you can mark out numbers 5 and number 6. So you don't have to do those. I'm not going to give you any of those where you have to do multiple steps beyond knowing the center and radius. Okay? So right now you've got about 7 minutes or so, 7 or 8 minutes here. Probably get a pretty good start on that. Just page 50 and 51 is your practice.